Fortnite just dropped a few secret updates you definitely need to know about. They vaulted the Crash Pad Jr., but there is a secret way to still get them, which you definitely want to know for tournaments this week. Speaking of tournaments, Fortnite just moved a whole bunch of them. The whole tournament schedule this week has completely changed. We've had some insane stack sessions of scrims. I want to talk about who's dropping where and who's looking the best, and why Peterbot and Pollo are now contested. There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. First off, we have the Crash Pad Jr. being vaulted. Now, don't worry, this isn't a change to the meta because Fortnite didn't like it. It's because it is bugged. Now, we've had this bug in the game for probably about a week now, and originally I thought it was because the Fizzberry runs out and that's why you take fall damage, but that is not the case. With the Crash Pad Jr., if you use 2 of them in a row without touching the ground, so you throw one down, you bounce, and you throw another one down, you are going to die to fall damage at the end of it, which is super frustrating. But honestly, for me, that is even less frustrating than having them removed from the game. I get why Fortnite is removing them because there is a bug in the game and they can't fix it right away. But what I feel like Fortnite probably should have done in this scenario is remove them from pubs and rank, because pubs and rank players aren't as tapped in. There's a lot better mobility in the game, so you don't want them dying to bugs when they don't really know what's going on. But the competitive community is pretty used to keeping an eye on social media, you know, things like my YouTube video, Twitter, things like that, to kind of know what's going on. It's probably easier just to keep crash pads in competitive and just don't use them twice in a row. Like, not many people use 2 crash pads in a row. It's a pretty niche use of the item. I think having no crash pads in the game is going to be far more frustrating for players this week in tournaments than if they were in the game and you just couldn't use 2 in a row. Now, I know that's not an ideal scenario. Like, in an ideal world, items would just work. We wouldn't have to deal with this. But in the situation that we're in, I feel like Fortnite probably should have kept them in, and they basically already have unintentionally. So you can still get Crash Pad Juniors from the OXR chests around the map and the loot drones at the hot drops. So if you guys want a pro tip for the tournaments this week, well, the Crash Pads are still vaulted from the game because we don't know when they're coming back. Fortnite hasn't told us when they're going to fix them. Start dropping a POIs that either get hot drops, like the gold name hot drops, or that have OXR chests. Remember, there's going to be 2 hot drop POIs every single game out of 4. So honestly, if you're trying to rank up through divisions and you don't really have a drop spot that you've locked down necessarily, my advice would be just go wherever the hot drop is. Get guaranteed crash pads, because you're going to be one of the only teams in the lobby with mobility. If you know one of the mythic POIs or POIs with guaranteed OXR chests, you should be in a good spot as well. But that is your only way to get Crash Pad Juniors. Just remember, if you get them, don't use 2 in a row. You're welcome. And there are a lot of tournaments this week, but Fortnite has moved around the schedule a lot. I'm not even going to try and tell you what the schedule is now, because it's changed a whole bunch. To summarize it, you know, easily, the Eval Cup that was supposed to be today, as of you guys watching this video, has been moved to in a few days time because Fortnite has the update delayed. So there's going to be the Divisional Cups first for the next 2 days, then we're going to have the Eval Cup. Now, after this, Fortnite has moved a whole bunch around. They've moved the Console Victory Cups, they've moved the Solo Cash Cups, because the Solo Cash Cups are on the same day as the Div 1 Finals, which was obviously going to be a big issue for the top tier pros. Now the Console Cups are on during the Reload Cups, but they're on earlier in the day. Just go check Fortnite Tracker, check Asari, and check the Compete tab. If you had your week scheduled out, make sure you guys check, because basically every single tournament this week has changed date and time. Bit unlucky, but I much prefer this schedule. Having the Div 1 Finals on at the same day as the Solo Cash Cup was going to be a nightmare, because again, these are the 2 most important tournaments of the week for me personally. Obviously, I like to watch these and make as much content as I can around them. That day was going to be super stacked and ridiculous. I would rather it be spread out a little bit. There's plenty of days with nothing on to have multiple tournaments on. So check the Compete tab, make sure you guys are up to date. A lot of you guys are also confused on the format of the Divisional Cups. Again, I'll explain this again very quickly. The Divisional 1 Cup, so if you're in Division 1, the 2 days of qualifiers are combined and the top 50 teams make finals. That's normal. For all the other divisions, so Division 5, 4, 3, and 2, all the divisions are separate. They have 2 separate days. They are separate tournaments. So you can play your Division 4 Cup on the first day with 1 teammate. If you don't manage to get top whatever to qualify on your region, you can play the next day with a separate teammate. They are completely separate tournaments. You now have 2 chances a week to rank up the divisions, and that is why there's also more divisions on the big region. So good luck, but again, you aren't locked in with teammates anymore. Thankfully, Fortnite has finally gotten rid of 2-day qualifiers for everything except for Division 1. All right, let's jump into talking about duos. We've had a few really good days of actual stack scrim sessions, so I have a lot to talk about which duos are looking good and some new drop spots. Now, we have Peterbot and Pollo contested, but if you're a Pollo fan, don't panic too hard yet. They are contested, but by Barker and Pars. Now, that's not as bad because Barker and Pars are an NA West team, but they often play the Divisional Cups on NA Central, and they often make finals. So if Barker and Paz are trying to lock down the Hive and they make finals, that could cause a few issues for Pete and Pollo. I know you're thinking, yo, Pete and Pollo, the GOATs, they have the ping advantage, two of the craziest off-spawn fighters, they're going to destroy them. And yes, in the scrims today, the Barker Paz was contesting Pete and Pollo. They played 3 games, and Pete and Pollo won 2 of them. Now, game number 2 came down to Pete having to clutch up. He was the only player with a shotgun. He managed to pull off this. He's going for a flank. Oh, the lurk. Wait, Pete has the lurk. They didn't see him. They didn't see him again. Oh, not the Pete aim we're used to seeing. That could have been the chance. A couple of headshots there in this fight would look very different. We'll see, though. 3 damage to open up from Pete. Pollo still has no shotgun, though. Pete wins this. Is going to be very solid. The chop comes out. Pete on the drop down. Oh, Pollo doesn't need a shotgun, baby. Pete with the great sentinel. All we need. Honestly, Barker and Paz really should have won this round, especially because both of them had double shotguns. They both had sentinels and revolvers, and Pollo didn't even have a shotgun. So it came down to a really good clutch from Pete, and Pollo was doing his job, spraying from a distance. Now, game number 3 was all about Pollo. Pollo came in clutch and did some big damage. Pete does get a shotgun. That's big. That is a very big pull there. And Paz dropping down. Paz! Huge misplay. Paz doesn't keep track of where Pollo is, and Pollo. Pete got the 2 elims last game, but right now, Pollo carrying the lion's share of this spawn fight. Very rough awareness for Barker Paz there. Definitely did not realize that Pollo was lurking. Pollo does have 2 big pods, but the spray is too much. Paz goes down. It's 2v1. Barker gonna have to pull off a pretty crazy clutch here, but I don't see it happening. Pollo gets in. Gonna say Pollo gets a double kill. Oh, Pete gets 1. Pete and Pollo take game 2 and 3. So it's 2-1 at the end of session 3 scrims. Out of fairness, I'll obviously show Barker and Paz winning as well. I'll play in the background because it just wasn't as exciting. They both land on the big pillar. They drop down. Barker and Paz get the guns first. Pete and Pollo go down. But Barker and Paz did really well. Again, they won one of the 3 fights. And honestly, at least one of these other fights should have gone their way. They probably should be up 2-3. So Pete and Pollo are playing phenomenally well, especially when it doesn't come down to a straight 50-50 like it wasn't. But this is going to be a fun spawn fight to watch, especially if Barker and Paz start grinding on Central and qualify. They make more finals on NA Central than they don't. They are a phenomenally good team when it comes to making it on NA Central, even though their main region is West. And there's no FNCS this season. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter too much about what's your main region if you're qualifying on both finals. Now, if you know anything about Pete and Pollo, you know how Pete and Pollo are going to respond to this. They're going to do their best, then qualify on West and try to contest them on West to make sure they aren't doing well on that region as well. So this could initiate maximum grinder mode from Peterbot to just be the villain like he loves to be. So it'll be interesting to see if you're a Pete and Pollo fan. A little bit frustrating to see them get contested, but honestly, it could lead to even better content and even better practice for Pete and Pollo. Like, we know that they're 2 of the best spawn fighters in the world. Pollo's now shown that it wasn't just always Pete who was dominating the off spawns. He can do it as well. So just getting them a whole bunch of reps in practicing their off spawns before we even get to a season with FNCS is going to be very good for Pete and Pollo. This isn't our only big team drop swap to talk about. We have Cold and Ritual finally getting on playing their first session of scrims and confirming they are not contesting Yomzo Aegis. We were supposed to see 2 of our biggest teams on NA, Yomzo and Aegis, and Cold and Ritual going at it at Demons, but it looks like Cold and Ritual have decided otherwise. I DM'd Ritual after he decided to not drop there in the first session of scrims, and I was like, hey, is this just because you guys don't want to practice right now there? Are you actually moving drops? And Ritual said, look, Demons isn't even really that good of a drop anymore. Now that the boss only spawns there 50% of the time, the games you get the boss, fantastic, but when you don't get the boss, it's just not that good of a POI. And honestly, I have to agree, it's definitely not a good enough POI to warrant contesting one of the other tier 1 duos on the region. There's other drops that are worth contesting over, or there's other drops that a team like Cold and Ritual can definitely get uncontested that are extremely solid, like the fields. They are now going to be going to the fields right next to Demons, and if you needed any sign of Cold being locked in and grinding the game right now, he is playing one of the first sessions of pro scrims in a season that has no FNCS, and he is surge trading. Like, I cannot explain to you how big of a deal that is for Cold grinding. Cold and Ritual, if you had any concerns about them as a duo, as long as their vibes are good, which I have to imagine they are, they're going to be a very scary duo if both of them are locked in grinding this hard. So we don't get to see Cold and the Omzo go at it, which would have been fun for a little bit, but as I always tell you guys, I would much rather see all the best teams with their own POI uncon, because it's just so much more fun to watch in the long run. Now, let's look at the scrim leaderboards to see which duos are actually looking the best coming into the Div Cups this week. So first session was won by Yomzo and Ages. They got a 7 Elim win, 9 Elim win, and 2 Elim 8th. They're looking very, very good out of Demons, especially when they do get that Queen spawn. Ritual and Cold also coming third in the first scrim session, getting a 7 Elim 4th and a 10 Elim 6th. Their first game was a 3 Elim 27th. First time in the new POI, wasn't panicking too much. Looks like they're still trying to figure it out, but they were looking really, really good out of the drop spot. We also had Muzz and Sphinx, who have been extremely consistent, coming second in the first scrim session. It is worth mentioning Pete and Pollo played all 9 games of scrims. Well, Pollo did. Pollo played 9 games. Pete wasn't on for the first one, but Pete and Pollo as a duo played 8 of the 9 games, looking like they are very, very locked in. Now, they managed to kick off with some decent games, a 7 Elim 6, but then a 3 Elim 14th in session 1. In session 2, however, they managed to get a 6 Elim 4th and a 16 elimination win. Their 16 Elim win, they were looking incredibly solid. It is worth pointing out right now, on average, Pollo is out-fragging Peterbot. Now, I actually want to get a Pete versus Pollo Elim count going, but just for the tournaments, because, I like watching Pete, I like making content around Pete, but I really do think Pollo needs to start getting more credit for this duo's performances, and we'll see. At the end of this week or next week, maybe I'll be wrong, maybe Pete has double Pollo's Elims, but just for the sake of giving Pollo a bit of the spotlight for once, I'm going to track how many eliminations Pete and Pollo get separately and see who ends up with more, but I'm going to do this only in tournaments. I don't think doing it in scrims is totally fair. We'll see how tournaments shake down, but right now they're looking very, very solid in these games. One of the other teams that's really caught my eye and impressed me is an official new duo, Pump and Epic Whale. They managed to get a 5 Elim second and a 15 elimination win in the second session of scrims. In the first session, they managed to also get a 7 Elim win. So they are one of the most consistent duos right now, and they are playing on NA Central. Epic Whale and Pump, despite competing on NA West for all this chapter, have confirmed they will be playing together on NA Central, and they've been doing all of this from contested dystopia. So even though globals didn't go that well for Epic Whale, it looks like maybe Pump was the fighting power that Epic Whale needed, because they're holding down contested dystopia against Power's team and doing extremely well. We have had some of our big names missing. Keep that in mind. Bolt hasn't been playing, so Acorn's been playing with random fills. We also have had Reet, Cooper, and Clicks all still away. Clicks came back from Globals, streamed for a bit, then took a bit of a break. He'll be back for Div Cup. Reet and Cooper extended their holidays and stayed in Europe when they were kind of just vacationing before coming back. We don't really know exactly what's going on with some of these duos. Cooper has confirmed he is not playing with Curly anymore because Curly's school kind of requirements are getting too crazy, and Cooper wants to be able to lock in and practice more with someone else. So we'll have to wait until these players get back, actually confirm who their duos are, and start playing tournaments to see how they're performing. So as much as I like looking at scrims again, don't panic, some of the big teams were missing. So when the Div Cup's over this week, I will be able to do a full recap on all the duos, how they're looking, and I will confirm where they're all dropping. I know a lot of you guys want an updated drop spot video, but we already have so many drop spots changing each day. I don't really want to lock in a video just yet. Oh, and a huge shout out though. One team that again really caught my eye, Booga and Craze. Booga was putting on an IGL masterclass in session 1 of Pro Scrims. I'm very excited to watch this duo. There was a part of me that when I saw Booga playing scrims with Stretch, like the liquid Stretch, that maybe there was a chance that was actually happening. I didn't think it was a good chance, but Stretch is not back. We do still have Craze, and honestly, I love watching Craze. He's a phenomenal talent. I think him and Booga are looking really, really good right now. I can't figure out if they're going to be contested because we actually had Acorn, who was filling in with Paper, contesting Booga and Craze over at Ranger's Ruin. Then they started going Paper's drop spot, which is going to be in the island next to Demons, but I don't know if that means Acorn and Bolt have their eye on Rangers and want to contest Booga and Craze. Overall, Booga and Craze's team were winning that spawn fight, but again, Acorn wasn't playing with his actual duo, and I love Paper, but Bolt is obviously a much scarier fighter than Paper, so that could be another really fun spawn fight to watch out for this season.